The night is young, but dark and cold. It is Scotland in late January, a miserable month. And you find yourself at an equally large, miserable farm. A lone cat stares as you brave the dirt, stamping to avoid getting your feet stuck. And as you walk towards this large house, it's large for a farmhouse, you are welcomed by an English butler. It is Burns night, 25th of January. You are in the home of the last known girlfriend of Robert Burns himself. You all sit and wait for the old woman to come down from her bedroom. Well, there is exceptions. 2 inspectors remain standing. One, a man, who is already sneaking a few drinks. The other, a woman supposedly. She wears, to the aghast of the other diners, trousers. But both of them ignore the diners. They seem lost. A maid who is with them is given a silent command, and she leaves. But they're not the only ones not seated. Where is the butler? Where are the woman's family? The piper in the room decides to play in the hopes that they will finally start the night. Everyone is hungry and wants a bit of that haggis sitting at the table.
Right, stop the party. There's been a murder.
Ah. Hey, Japp. Seems we have company. Well, we're gonna have to deal with it. Hello there. I am Undercover Inspector Christie. That over there is Inspector Japp I was talking to. A Philip Japp, that's G-A-P-P. It sounds exactly as it says. He works for the Great Scotland Yard. He spends his day fishing boots and the occasional body out of rivers. He says he's a fisherman, we can debate that. But I know he's a fine inspector in his own way. Now, like you, we were both invited to this event because old Jean, or Jeanie Doyle, was a little paranoid. I may be understanding a little part, but, apparently she had every right to be. And that's because Jeanie Doyle is lying face down at the bottom of the stairs, strangled. Now, Jeanie put up a fight, but the person may have been younger and healthier than a 70-something woman. Is there any strong 70-something women that you know? Who knows? Inspector, what was used to strangle her, and how did it happen exactly? Oh, for God's sake. Yeah, I would like to inform the jury that no, that fin is not what it looks like, but you do get a realistic picture. Just imagine it was an old woman. Stop that. Now you can stop it. They get the point. So, who would want an old woman like Jeanie Doyle dead? Surprise, surprise, nearly everyone. Moira, could you please bring up our victim's profile? I would just like to point out to everyone that I left Inspector Japp involved in this, so I'm not going to apologise for any mess that's going to happen. Victim's profile. Thank you very much. Now take a good look at this old woman. She's aged probably 70 or more and known to have lied about her age. Again, Inspector Japp decided to ask an old woman her age, which you don't do. And that's why you don't have a girlfriend. She's always claimed to be the last girlfriend of Robert Burns himself. which is a big claim, and by last, of course, they're all dead. She apparently had a son with Burns who has 3 surviving children who are in the family today. Her own son was killed in the army, and his wife died with fever quite shortly. Now, Doyle sold her story to the papers and wrote a book, earning a lot of money while raising her 3 surviving grandchildren. And now she owns this huge farm that employs her grandchildren, although we did hear them say she pays them very little. Let us bring in the suspects. Now, you might want to write this down if you have any paper, or you can just pay attention like the rest of us. That's what it means to be a good inspector. Francis Doyle, the first grandson, the oldest grandson, apparently likes to write poems, but not great. He's already performed one where like... apparently he wanted to be a soldier, but has severe asthma. And of course, in these times, if you have severe asthma, you don't do much. He is the head farmer of his grandmother's estate, and by head farmer, that means he sits in his room and orders everyone around. Am I correct? Yeah. And of course, he's the oldest brother of his siblings, Gilbert and Anne. And now we have also written down the motives from what we've gathered so far. Francis, as the oldest grandson, is next in line for Jeannie's money and her estate. And Jeanie was apparently quite overprotective and needy to the point that he struggled himself to leave home. Of course, he might just want to not leave home himself. It could be one of those gentlemen. The second suspect, please. Gilbert Doyle. So as you can see, Gilbert Doyle is the middle child of the grandchildren. He's also the only child to be married. He's married to a lady called Carol with 3 children himself. He was a soldier in the Crimean War, which is the war from the 1850s. And you may know the charge of the Light Brigade. That's where that happened. And as you can see, he was injured and he's lost an arm. He is currently struggling to find work outside the farm, as the very little money that his grandmother paid can't actually cover his own children and his own health problems. So it's a mix of the both. He has to find a balance. And I suppose that could be part of the motive. Apparently he never showed much affection towards his grandmother, and perhaps he is hoping the money will help him and his family. This is all speculation. Sometimes we have to work on speculation. And thank you. So this is the third suspect and the third grandchild, the only granddaughter, Anne Doyle Tomes. So youngest child of the Doyles, she's recently widowed, so she was married. But sadly, her husband is dead, hence the widow part. Apparently one of the hardest workers on the farm, but as a woman, she is paid less than her brothers. Different time back then. Apparently, she's known as a peacekeeper, and has a huge collection of Charles Dickens and writes poems on her own time off as well, kind of like Francis. Apparently a little bit better. Who knows? Anyway, the motives. Jeanie was very hard on her as a little girl, which is not unusual, sadly, in these times. And Anne wants to be a published poet. So perhaps Jeanie's money would help. Who knows? Next suspect. So the butler, Nathaniel Melville, hired by Jeanie because he's English and not familiar with Robert Burns. Apparently that's how she liked it. Known to sneeze a lot, and we've heard this. He came in, he welcomed us, and then he walked away, greeted another guest, over and over again. And he apparently makes excellent tea. I wouldn't know, I don't drink tea. I'm taking the whiskey. The motives. He helped Jeanie prepare her will, apparently. So perhaps he is in line for some money. And he disobeyed orders to always be with Jeanie when she is outside her room. Melville was not with Jeanie when she died, apparently. Next suspect, please. Carol Bowditch Doyle. This is Gilbert's wife. Again, Gilbert is the middle grandchild, the war soldier. So married to Gilbert and his main carer, and has had 3 children. So not only is she caring for her husband, she's also caring for 3 children. She works on the farm and at a flower shop to help with the family. And apparently is often seen arguing with Gilbert, but it's made clear they both love each other dearly. The motives we have for Carol is that she was hated by Jeanie, basically, ever since Carol asked for some money for help. And, could possibly kill to help Gilbert and their children. Who knows what the love for a family can do. Do we have a final suspect profile? Oh, for God's sake, Inspector. This is why I usually work alone, because sometimes I have to work with clowns. The haggis! The haggis is waiting to be eaten at the party. Once belonged to a sheep with the original name Reay, apparently made by Carol with help from Anne and Nathaniel. Motives. Haggis is always suspicious. You think it looks innocent. Yuck. It's awful. Don't have the stomach for it. Moira, just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. My God, I work with some clowns. Did we seriously need to include the haggis, Inspector? Yeah, Augie from the previous one, that was a more suspicious character. Anyway, back to the murder. So, Jeanie Doyle was found strangled by her family and butler, who have all been named as suspects. Now, while the inspector was conducting his interviews, I went and found some stuff in their bags, which is what I'm very good at. So here is what I found. With Francis, so apparently this is a poem, an emphasis on poem, because I almost threw up reading this. This is a poem about narcissistic grandmothers, selfish butlers, and evil sister-in-laws. Okay. So this is from Gilbert. Now, just to let you know, these are medals of bravery from the Crimean War. And just to clarify, right here, that medal has been torn apart, just here. And that's very hard to do. So something might have happened. It might be worn off, or maybe there was an accident. But it's not very well looked after, I must say. Here is Anne's. So this is a locket from her husband, and that is a picture of Anne. By the way, I'm an undercover inspector. I'm not an artist, so go easy on me. And this is a manuscript. And in the manuscript are self-written poems about loneliness, about grief, because of course she's a widow. But they're actually pretty good, I must say. Better than Francis, anyway. So this is from the butler, Nathaniel. Letters from home, and if I may read it. Mentions payments, mentions servants, blah, 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 blah. Dislike of grandchildren, particularly Francis. Wishes he was back in England. Of course he does. Not much at all. And finally, Carol. So a book on how to better a marriage. It's not a divorce book, because we don't do divorce. And it's from a Miss K. Price. I don't know what the K is. If it's Katrina, if it's Catherine, Miss Catherine Price, Miss Katrina Price. I don't know. And no, Inspector, I never did a haggis one. So here is your first chance to vote on who you think did it. Now I admit, not much to go on. Good luck.